Warm welcome to all of you. Today, TiE Kerala is organizing the Vision Kerala session focused on assisted living and assistive technology. And we are going to have two sessions here. One is the keynote session on shaping the future of assisted living and assistive technology, sector overview, opportunities and challenges, and the panel discussion on innovative models to support assisted living communities. So to begin, I invite our President, Jacob Joy, to deliver the welcome and presidential address.
Good evening and a very warm welcome to all of you. Thank you for taking time out for something which actually means a lot for us as a state. Just to give you an introduction as to why these verticals, before I get into the official welcoming. Under TiE, we've got a DIA vertical, and we felt that how do we provide tools for entrepreneurship in Kerala, and which are the verticals which actually make sense for entrepreneurship in Kerala. And under DIA, we identified assisted living and technology as one of the verticals where Kerala has a lot of scope in terms of business, in terms of technologies, etc. Along with education, R&D, agriculture, education, etc. So that was the thought process behind having this. And what we're trying to do with these sessions is we had a session during TiEcon last year, and we had, I think, a full day of sessions, after which we had a white paper. What we're trying to do now is to have visioning across all our verticals and have the closing session at TiEcon where we have all the panels present. So we'll have a representative from each of the verticals, wherein we can actually have a qualitative and quantitative objective saying this is where we would like to go. Particularly with the theme of this year's TiEcon being Transforming Kerala and Vision 2030. It's very apt that we do this and try and create measurable goals and measure ourselves against those. So we can benchmark ourselves against those rather than just come sit for a conference, have a good time and go back. So we are putting ourselves out there and saying, measure us, tell us if you're not doing it, and we want to do it. So that is the objective with which we've started. Thank you so much for coming. With that, I will go to my official duty. So take a warm welcome, first to welcome all of you to this evening. At the same time, also welcome Mr. Justin Jesudas, who will be giving us a keynote address. And for the panel discussion, we have Mr. Robin Tommy, Dr. Sindhu Vijay Kumar, Sri Chandra Babu, and we have our own Rajesh Nair, past president, moderating that session. A warm welcome to all of you. And a warm welcome to Tom George also, who will be concluding this event with concluding remarks and a vote of thanks. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. And I now request Vivek to please come forward, talk to us about TiEcon, and also introduce our moderator for the day.
Good afternoon to all of you. I think Jacob has set the tone for why we are organizing this session and what is the relevance of this particular topic in the larger scheme of things from a TiE Kerala perspective. This is an initiative we commenced last year where we identified 4 sectoral activities, so to say, not from an industry sector perspective, but from a more vocational angle to some extent, 4 areas. We thought of assisted living. Now we are adding a technology angle to it. We will be adding more and more perspectives within this sub-verticals. Assisted living is one, education, R&D session was held recently. And all of this is tying up into the larger purpose of what does TiE stand for? This is a question we were asking ourselves during one of our retreats. Are we just doing events, conferences, and speaker sessions, or don't we need to do a little more beyond that where there is, at ground level, we want to create an impact. So this is all working towards that. Initial stage, obviously, is white paper creation. That is happening on the one side with the support of some of our, team members as well as educational institutions which are supporting us. Thereafter, the implementation side, the government is also very much in sync. You'll see that during TiEcon, which is on December 4th and 5th, there will be government representatives from each of these verticals, and the follow-up from all of these sessions is finally going to be implementable, maybe 2 or 3 suggestions, for which TiE will also be a hand-holding partner as we move forward. Now, TiEcon, as all of you are aware, just a quick show of hands. How many of you have attended a TiEcon before? That's about 50-60%. That's a good number, which means the other 40% have not attended. So this is a must-attend event. We are not positioning this as an event where you are going to listen to a one-way speaker traffic session. You sit on one end and speakers are going to bombard you with thoughts. That's not the objective of TiEcon, so let us all, we are very clear on that. We want this to be an entrepreneurship festival. We have multiple activities going on. The speaker sessions are only one arm of TiEcon. Definitely, we have the best of speakers coming in. First-gen entrepreneurs, next-gen entrepreneurs, disruptive entrepreneurs, innovative entrepreneurs, from all of these categories there are people. There are very high-profile people from the political side, from the bureaucratic side, because these are all important. We need all of them to be partners, and we need both their time, energy, money, everything from all of these people. So it is important that we engage with them and they see what we do. But that is only one aspect of it, the speaker side. There will be an exhibition, which will be an interactive exhibition. There will be, there will be other sessions and charter members, which are probably around close to 100 charter members. Usually there is they are cordoned off separately, or there are exclusive sessions, etc. But from last year, we decided that we need to change that. So charter members will always be, for those 2 days, fully available. Many of these CMs are people who are virtually impossible to get through to. If you go and try to meet them, or try to get an appointment from VK Matthews and others, it's not going to be easy to do that. But here, during TiEcon, all these people, C. Balagopal, VK, all stalwarts of industry are part of the organizing team. So they are also going to be available, apart from many of the others who are part of TiE. So it's a good opportunity to also have one-to-one learning from all of them, and the networking, everything. And we've again decided to move to what we feel is a better venue, because the way events are positioned now, Hyatt has a much better look, feel, and everything is at a slightly grander scale. Trying and working towards ensuring that we are going to host the TiE Global Summit. We will be pitching for 2026, and hopefully we will get it in 26 or the year after. So we need to showcase that to the TiE global leadership also. So we are inviting the entire TiE global leadership to also come and visit and see the scale at which we are doing this. So there's multiple things to it. There will also be good food, good entertainment. We were just talking to Sunil about arranging, the music and all of that. So all of this needs to be experienced, and it's our request. The registration charges are fairly nominal, considering that the event is in Hyatt. The registration charge, which is fixed, will not even cover 60% of the cost that we are going to pay at the venue. So the early bird rates are still on. So please request all of you to pass this message on to your friends as well, and register in good numbers and participate. And some of you here who would like to volunteer and be a part of doing this event, we'd be more than happy. There's a very elite group here, many of whom are personally very close to me, but some of the others faces are new here. But the fact that you've taken time out on a weekday afternoon to listen to the session goes to show that you would be a good volunteer for us as a foot soldier in organizing this. We are all foot soldiers here, Jacob, me included. We are all nothing but foot soldiers for this event, and we would just want all of you to also be a part of our team. And it's good fun to organize an event of this scale. So we request your support in being on the other side of the bench also in organizing the event. So with these words, wish you the very best for the session. And I have also the task of introducing my good friend Rajesh here, who will be moderating the session. It would be audacious on my part to try and introduce Rajesh. He is, I'm sure, known to all of you here. A very, very high-profile face here, a very well-liked face, more importantly. He heads the consulting verticals, some of the verticals of EY on a national scale, including the ESG, sustainability, etc. And also heads the consulting verticals of some of the states. Most importantly, Kerala. He's actually been the face of consulting here for the past more than a decade, 10, 12 years that he's been here. He has created quite a footprint, and also helped people like me who have been in the finance field. He has opened a lot of doors and opportunities for all of us also. So he's a path-breaking, leader in every sense. So it'll be, and past president of TiE, and very, very active in everything that we do. Whenever he's in Cochin, he's just a call away for all of us. So he'll be moderating the session, and yeah, Divya, my job done. Thank you.
I'll give you a context on why we are doing it in TiE and a little bit of history when we start the panel discussion. But just a few lines on setting a context. We wanted to look beyond the traditional sectors of Kerala and then look at some of those key aspects of what really affects Kerala. So if you ask me sectors, etc., there is IT, there is agriculture, there is healthcare, financial services, retail. All these are fairly rich in Kerala. But then we also thought that when we look at inclusion, we also need to have areas like senior living and assisted technologies and etc. And we thought of picking up a few of these areas and doing some focused work as TiE. So that was the intention. This particular vertical, we started it off as senior living, and then now we are integrating more of making it slightly broader by having assistive technologies, etc. Let me introduce the speaker who will do the keynote. I met Justin 2 weeks back at a conference called Empower. And so as TiE, we are trying to fathom and decipher this entire area of senior/assisted living and technologies. And we attended, several of us attended the conference in Trivandrum, which is very well attended, both by investors, by entrepreneurs, etc. I met Justin there. And believe me, there are people whom you meet and you feel that you've not done anything in your life. These are the guys who've really, made sense of their time and really added value to the ecosystem around it. Justin is one of them. So a quick introduction about him, and we'll hear a keynote from him. Justin is currently the COO of R2D2 of the IIT Madras Research Park and NCAHT. He has around 12 years of lived experience with tetraplegia, which is a disability. He is also a elite para-athlete, international para-swimming champion, and national rifle shooting champion. So, it's a long list of achievements. He has, from an industry perspective, he has around 20 years of experience in research and analytics, industry, business research, market strategy, digital operations, BPO, KPO, diversity and inclusion, and disability inclusion. He's currently working in assistive technology / device development, rehabilitation research, and social innovation space for social equity and inclusion. So even during the conference, we had, we got time to sit at the sidelines and get some of his views and the kind of products which IIT Madras is doing. So Justin, do come and enlighten us. Ladies and gentlemen, Justin Jesudas. I think we are probably centuries behind really helping people in this.
Thank you for the opportunity to present about assistive technology, something that's very close to my heart and a work that we've been doing for quite some time now. So there was actually no need to push my wheelchair. I could have pushed and come. That's how assisted living looks like. What we're trying to do is, through technology, can we make the user more independent and reduce the dependency on the caregiver? That's what we're trying to do. So I'm going to focus a lot on assistive technology than assisted living itself. And I'd probably leave it to the panelists to talk more about assisted living. Now, having said that, if you can move to the next slide. If you want to understand assistive technology, there is absolute importance. Yeah, you can just click one more time. Just click a few more times. One more time. Okay, great. You need to understand disability if you want to understand assistive technology. Without understanding disability, understanding assistive technology would be very shallow. If you look at everything in the web, when a lot of organizations talk about disability, this is how it looks like, right? Everything is very rosy. People are there in all walks of life. Be it in the community or in workplace and things like that. But unfortunately, what you see on the other side, that's how reality looks like. There's no accessibility, or if there is, it's abysmally low. So if I ask you a question, how often do you see people with disabilities at your favorite restaurant, movie theater, park, beach, what would your answer be? So that's the reality. That's exactly what the reality is. So on that note, I'm just going to pause here for a second to keep this as a two-way conversation. What does disability mean to you? Anybody? What does disability mean to you? Not trying to put you on a spot, but I just want to genuinely understand, what does disability mean to a lot of us, right? It's a mindset. Okay, that's one response. There are no right and wrong answers, right? We'll try to see if we can change the narrative of disability. If not, that's fine. Anybody else who wants to?
Disability would refer to the barriers in the environment.
Barriers in the environment, great, okay. Not being independent, okay. I also want to check, right, maybe up until now, was there a perception that disability means lesser ability? At least from a social perception? Because the first thing when we hear about disability is, oh, that person may not be able to do. Which is also an example why I was pushed in a wheelchair here, right? That's a common understanding. And that's okay, but we're trying to change that perspective. Yeah, probably by the end of this conversation, I can tell you that disability has nothing to do with the person. And as Rohit rightly pointed out, disability is often associated with the external environment. If you have to go to point A to point B, you walk with your two legs. If I need to go from point A to point B, I use my wheelchair. As simple as that. The objective is the functionality. To go from one place to another. How would you eat your food? You'd use your fingers and do it. Some people use spoon and do it. I'm going to, in the same spoon, put it in a different way in my hand and you eat it. The functionality is most important. I have an impairment but not a disability. You know when I feel disabled? When there are a flight of stairs. When the walkway is not there. When the public transportation is not accessible. That's when I feel more disabled. Right? And there is a huge cost for exclusion. The opposite of inclusion is exclusion. Without understanding exclusion, you will never understand inclusion. Right? So what is that opportunity cost? Global researchers say that 5 to 7% of a country's GDP is lost when you don't include people with disabilities as part of your workforce or your environment or your community. From an India standpoint, we are talking about anywhere around $150 billion to $200 billion every year being lost. That's the opportunity cost of not having people with disabilities as part of mainstream workforce, education, or whatever it is. We can move to the next slide, please. Thanks. Yeah. So, what is the magnitude in terms of numbers? About 1 billion of the world's population has a disability. Period. Right? That's 1/8 of the world's population. It could be different forms and shapes and sizes. So the center pie chart talks about the split of disability. Major ones being vision, hearing, physical and intellectual disability. But having said that, 80% of this population lives in developing countries. Right? And about 150 million of this population are children. That's like the future, right? And this is what we're talking about. And when it comes to assistive technologies, only 1 out of 10 people who actually need assistive technology have access to assistive technology, which means 90% of the population that needs assistive technology does not have access to assistive technology. That's what this summarizes. You can move to the next slide. Thanks. So again, back to you. What do you see on the slide? I just want to know what your understanding is. Which of these is an assistive device? Okay, I think we've got that right. So which means anybody who's wearing a pair of spectacles, you are using an assistive device. So you don't have to differentiate too much about it here. The phone, the mobile phone that you carry is an assistive device. How many of you watch an English movie, instead of hearing it, you see the subtitles? There you go. Assistive device, assistive technology. Right? So we don't realize a lot of things that we use are actually assistive technologies or assistive devices. In fact, some of these were actually first introduced for persons with disability, and then the mainstream world thought, okay, oh, this is useful for us, and it went on, right? The Segway that you see, people use balance, and that was primarily, it was for self-balancing wheelchair, and they pivoted, and then it came to people without disability. So this is a scenario in terms of what assistive technologies and devices are. If you could move to the next one, please. Next slide. All right. So overall, why assistive technologies are used. So I've put a list of reasonings. Often it's to compensate for an impairment that is there. And the goal really is to push the person to be or live a life as independent as possible, as much as dependency is weaned off, minimize the need for caregivers, prevent health complications. Because if I continue lying in the same place that I am, instead of moving in a wheelchair, there are going to be a lot of primary and secondary complications. Can we wean that off? Can we normalize that? And obviously to lower overall health cost and the consequences of any decline in gradual functions, we want to wean that off. Again, what is the impact of assistive technology? There could be so many things, but I would just emphasize on one thing: community participation. That's the most important thing. People can say anything else, but the most important thing finally is community participation. 15 years back, I was told after neck down paralysis by one of the, today this doctor is my closest friend, but at that point 15 years back, he said, go back home and file taxes, returns for others and yourself, and earn a living. I was in a wonderful corporate job, right? I was earning a lot. And this person, when this person said, I was furious about it. Yeah, I was very angry to myself. Who is this person to say that, right? Despite a neck down paralysis, right? What is functional in my body is shoulders are fine, biceps are fine, but everything else below my neck is compromised. I flew in all by myself today. To the airport in Chennai, I drove by myself. Here I took a cab and I came here. And I'm going to do the return journey today itself. And this is probably my 5th journey this month. And twice in Kerala. With a neck down paralysis, fingers not functioning. How am I able to compensate? Assistive devices. 3 good assistive devices, 1 good wheelchair. This looks expensive because luckily my wife's company provides insurance for it. So I thought, okay, let me buy a new one. But in the last 2 assistive devices were all eBay bought wheelchairs, second-hand wheelchairs. So it need not be expensive. Yeah, a transfer board to move from one surface to another and a modification inside the car, which isn't very expensive. It's making a person who's 95%, that's what the doctors say, live my life by myself. For me, the most important thing is to be able to participate in the community. And my typical day starts at 4:15 in the morning. I'm a father of 2 children, twins, boy and a girl, doing a full-time job at IIT Madras. That's the beauty of technology. The right technology for the right person can make magic happen. If you could move to the next slide. So, typically, I've taken an example in terms of what happens when you develop an assistive device or an assistive technology. This is what we call as a design journey. This is the case even for a software product as well. So typically in a design journey, often what happens is, sitting at IIT Madras, I know I'm surrounded by a lot of very smart, intelligent engineers. They come and say, oh, I have a brilliant solution. It's a wonderful solution. We should implement this. Often my question to them is, who is it useful for? Because if you don't see the use for it, doesn't matter what a brilliant engineering solution it is, it's going to be useless. So the first thing that we do in our design journey is to scope the problem really well. Scoping the problem really well is like 50% of the solution achieved. Because often what happens, and this is the case, right? You take any technology around you, at home, in kitchen, it's loaded with so many things that are not even useful for you. Take your own mobile phone, how many of the apps and functions and features you're actually using? But you're paying for all of it, but you're still not using it. It's the case with some of the technologies in your car also. Some of these you don't even use, but it's there. That's because they thought, okay, let's put everything and package it for a price, right? So scoping the problem is really, really important. While scoping the problem, it's also important to understand who the stakeholders are. Often the misconception is when you're developing an assistive device, the users, persons with disabilities are the stakeholders. No, it's also the caregiver. If you are expecting your device to be given away by a CSR program or by the government, then they're also stakeholders because then it comes at a price point. It has to come at a price point. Rehabilitation professionals, clinicians, they're also stakeholders. AT innovators, they're also stakeholders. So you have to understand the entire ecosystem. And often this is a suggestion that I give, and if you're looking at getting into assistive technologies, this is something that you need to keep in mind. Typically academics, what they ask you to do is do a survey, understand the problem statement, and start off. Our recommendation, if you're looking at assistive devices, start with a day in the life of a person. Ask your engineers, clinicians to go and spend a day in their life so that they talk about the problem, but you also develop a perspective about that problem. So once that is done, only then, and this takes about easily 3 to 4 months, we get into conceptualization. Conceptualization, typically we ask the engineers to develop about 3 to 4 concepts, and then we try to put the features and specifications that are required for that particular device and try to see and match it. But often, the first prototype that we develop is what we call as the dirty but functional prototype. Whatever resources are there in the workshop, do not spend anything else. Take it, try to make a proof of concept, and see if it functionally works. It doesn't have to be aesthetically beautiful. So once that is done, and that ticks about 60% of the specifications, and then we say, okay, this could work. There's a proof of concept. Let's get into developing a proper prototype. That's when we put in the money to develop the prototype. And once that prototype is developed, it's usually the engineers or the clinicians who try it. We don't give it to the users because there's a safety hazard. And once that gets ready, then the third prototype. So typically for a smaller device, 3 prototypes good enough. But for a bigger, bulkier device, about 5 prototypes. And during that phase, we also do user trials, clinical trials. We involve the clinicians, ethics board approval and things like that. And then it is also the time where we do testing. Now, often this is the missing piece in India when it comes to assistive devices. Proper testing is not done. India has very vague standards in some cases no standards at all for assistive devices. So at IIT Madras, what we encourage is, let's stick to global standards. That way, your device is ready when you develop, even for global specifications. So we put devices into destructive testing. From a wheelchair standpoint, I can give you an example. Every wheelchair that we design and develop, it goes through 2 lakh cycles of double drum test and 6,666 times of drop test. It's lifted and dropped. So it has to pass that, because otherwise it's not going to be durable. So those kind of things also happen during that phase. And finally that is ready. Then we say, okay, the design is ready. Then we, somewhere in the journey or towards the end, we onboard an industry partner. That's a differentiator between our center and any other research lab. We onboard an industry partner so that the industry partner can take the device to the market, the technology to the market. What is the purpose of all of this if the technology remains as a lab project? So whatever technology we develop, finally it has to go and reach the users. So we onboard an industry partner and we take it. If you could move to the next one. Right. So these, whatever I spoke about are, the processes and why the importance of technology and all of that. This is how, we see conventional technologies and emerging technologies. A typical wheelchair is a conventional technology. A typical prosthesis is a conventional technology. But we are also increasingly see smart devices coming out, and those are the emerging technologies. So if you have interest or would you like to look at technologies, what we have in the bottom of the slide are some of the technologies that from the World Intellectual Property Organization report we've taken. These are the top technologies that are expected in the next 5 to 10 years to make inroads into the assistive technology space. But while doing so, you need to do this with a little caution. A lot of people come and ask us, why are we not developing an exoskeleton? It's because you see exoskeleton here somewhere, right? So often people come and ask us, why are we not developing exoskeleton? Which is why you need to understand the hope versus hype. It's very important. Even if IIT Madras develops an exoskeleton, right? Globally, they are at about 80 lakhs, 90 lakhs minimum. Yeah. Users in high-income countries are not able to afford it, and insurance is not paying it yet. 80 lakhs, 90 lakhs, right? So let's say at 1/10 of the cost, 10% of the cost we are able to develop, which is very difficult to develop at 10%. But if we manage to, that's at about 8 lakhs. Who's going to buy it in India? We're going to probably talk about 10 people buying it, 20 people buying it, but that's it. But there is a bigger population that needs something else. Unfortunately, 90% of the wheelchairs sold in India are hospital-grade wheelchairs, not meant for community use. They are meant for going from the ward to the consultant room or from X-ray room to the ward. Unfortunately, those are the wheelchairs that are given to community use also. Thanks to NGOs, CSRs, it's probably lack of awareness. Without understanding what it is, wheelchair is a wheelchair, and they give those wheelchairs, and what happens really is that people are stuck in their home for the rest of their life, because it's like if I give you, let's say, you have an 8 size feet, and I give you a 13 size shoe, how would you feel? That is exactly what is happening. Look at the prosthetics. Almost all the prosthetics that are given in India are hinge joint prosthesis, single axis rotation, which means the person has to hike their hip and walk. If you're wondering why that person is hiking their hip and walking with an artificial limb, it's because of that. Polycentric knee has been there for 30, 40 years across the globe, but hardly found in India. That's the scenario. The other challenge that I see, even in the wheelchair space itself, is on one end you have these manual wheelchairs. The problem with the manual wheelchair is it's highly portable and lightweight. You can put it in the car easily and go. But the problem is, you see these small wheels in the front, they are called caster wheels. I have difficult, so when I was pushing my wheelchair there, it was very easy. When I come onto the carpet, it's difficult because of these small wheels. Uneven terrains, I'll not be able to push. On the other end of the spectrum, you have these motorized wheelchairs operated by joystick. Everyone familiar with that? The joystick technology is not changed for about 40 years. Cars have cruise control in India. Tell me in Kerala highway, how many of you use cruise control beyond 200, 300 meters? You hit a brake. But where the technology should be, it's not there. So that's where, beware of the hope versus hype cycle, right? Not every technology, emerging technology would be immediately be able to absorb, you'll be able to absorb in India. If you could go to the next slide. Right. These are some of the challenges. I'm going to talk about the challenges, then I'll talk about the opportunity. To start with, India, the need is there. Huge need. Right? We are talking about 90 to 130 million people with disabilities in India. Don't believe the census data. It's grossly outdated. Right? Indian disabled population could be anywhere from 90 million to 130 million. The challenge that we face, despite putting a standing wheelchair for 25,000 rupees or a motorized wheelchair for about 50,000 rupees, 70,000 rupees, the challenge that we face is India is a classic case of the buyer is not the user. The user is different and the buyer population is different. Somebody else pays for the device for the user. Because we are operating in a charity model, and some governments now are opening up and government agencies are giving the device, provisioning of the device. So which means the purchase power is not there, the demand is not there, the need is there. Yeah? Which I'll talk about in the next slide, where the opportunity really is. With assistive devices, you'll also have to look at closely as customizability. You can't make multiple sizes for multiple people. It's like we have to figure ways and means to make one device that can be customizable for different shapes and sizes of people. So that's a huge concern. Even in terms of funding and policy, funding is still not opened up for assistive technology as a sector. That's primarily because the segment is very fragmented. And the policies for different countries, it widely varies. It's not standardized, like your automotive or something like that. Lack of user centricity is very key. Often users don't understand why a device is developed, and the engineer tries to shove it. Fragmented market, as I already covered. Lack of talent pool. We literally struggle, trying to hire engineers despite being at IIT Madras, because often good engineers, we lose them to Googles and Microsofts of the world. So there's a lack of talent pool as well. But in the last 3 years, we are seeing change, and people voluntarily coming and working in this kind of space. And I think this is happening primarily because as a population, we're also seeing different generations, right? I think my grandfather's generation was all about putting food on the plate. My father's generation was all about quality of life, getting those refrigerators and car and two-wheeler and whatnot. Lack of awareness is also very, very key here. A lot of clinicians, unfortunately, do not understand assistive technologies, and we are educating them. That needs to change. Even in the general population, as I said, everybody thinks, a wheelchair is a wheelchair, that kind of a scenario. That needs to change as well. And lastly, if an innovator manages to put all of this in place, in the global market, you have these dealership cartels. Unfortunately, it's still not happening in India because they feel the market is not there. But in US or in Europe, straight away, an assistive technology is as equivalent as a healthcare technology, a medical device, and there is a willingness to invest in it. But unfortunately, dealership takes about anywhere from 30 to 50% of the margins. That's the scenario. If you could move to the next one. I'm almost done. Growing demand. I already said 1 billion people with disabilities, roughly about 1 billion people needing assistive devices. By 2030, this is going to double. 2 billion people are going to need assistive devices thanks to the growing and the aging population as well, geriatric population as well. Startups are fueling the growth and the innovation. A lot of innovation is generated by the startup, not necessarily from the bigger companies, at least from an India standpoint. In assistive technology, it's the startup that is fueling and nurturing the innovation. One area where we are seeing that there's a big potential but nobody's entered in, because startups have started developing technology, but often all these startups do not know how to take it to the market. Still, for assistive devices, provisioning continues to be a big concern. Who is going to provision? How are they going to provision? Will the government embrace and provide the right tenders so that people can do it? All those questions are there. There are no aggregators in this space who are consolidating it really well. So there's a huge opportunity there. And lastly, just imagine this, and it's just a matter of time. India is growing at a brilliant pace, and it's just a matter of time before all the governments or the insurance embraces and says, we will fund technology, assistive technology. And then suddenly, you're staring at the world's largest assistive technology market. Thanks. Next one. Next slide. Yeah, click. Yeah. So, unfortunately, this is the reality. You may have seen this or may not have seen this. Reality is in your far left, and ideal scenarios in your far right. In the name of creating equity, we already put the obstacles. We create a step and then try to put a ramp. Right? Ideal scenario would be universal design. If you could move to the next one. Yeah. I hope everybody can see this. There's a flight of stairs on one side, and on the other side there's ramp, snow, it's snowing. The person who's clearing the snow is saying that let me clear the steps, snow on the steps first, because there are a lot of people waiting. And the person in a wheelchair is saying, if you clear the ramp, everybody can use it. Universal design. Thank you.
When does the design start? So does somebody come to you with the problem, or you list down a set of problems and then you work on it?
Yeah, it's always from the users or the caregivers or the clinicians. That's where the problem statements come from. Over a period of time, we've developed a list of problem statements. Again, technology, when it comes to assistive technology space, there could be two ways. One is one-to-one technology. For example, a wheelchair is a one-to-one technology. I develop it, but only one person can buy it and use it at one point, right? You can buy multiple wheelchairs. This is what we call as one-to-one. But on the other hand, if we make a change to a bus, that's a one-to-many technology. So typically it comes from the users.
Hi, just saying hi to you before this. I work in the space. Congratulations for this fabulous work. Tiresome, but yeah, we all need to fight this good fight. I work with the visually impaired population in Cochin last 22 years. I also run an IT company, so it's hand in glove. I employ a visually impaired person full-time with my company and use him for assistive tech. Challenges are enormous. Two quick questions. First is, now you said there are no aggregators. There is no person or a platform out there to actually, all these developers who you are able to inspire, get teams to work with, the consultants like EY can pump in the resources, but who is going to take control? Because this burgeoning population that you mentioned, we need the government policy to come in. I'm not questioning you, but IIT or the biggest stalwarts of the industry can put their minds together to have promising, at least the aggregators come forward, so that when tech comes, you guys are out there to at least validate those tech pieces and give it to the masses. Second thing is, how do you apply to R2D2 as we are a startup, and how can we apply and get any sort of linkages to R2D2? Thanks.
Yeah, I believe there are influential people here in this gathering. What is important is to take this awareness to the different forums that you represent, right? Fortunately, one headway that we've had in the Tamil Nadu government in the last 3 years is they've come to this choice-based system. It's a brilliant system, right? The users now decide what device they want in a panel of devices. I think this is the way to go. All other governments should embrace this, and I wish it happens across all of the other states as well, which is the case in European countries as well, right? They get a coupon, the user gets a coupon every 5 years. You go and see what is in the panel, and then you choose a device. Unfortunately, it's the opposite in India right now predominantly. You're given a device, and you have to use it. There's no other choice. So I think if we start creating these kind of things, slowly, in our experience center back in Chennai, and I give this as an example, and this is what happens in a policymaker comes in. We have created simulated architectural barriers in our experience center. So when a policymaker comes in, we ask them to sit in a wheelchair and ask them to go through that architectural barrier for them to realize what challenges we face on a day-to-day basis. And whenever I go for a session, this is what I say. Imagine, we talked about the statistics and the world population and 10% of it being disabled. What if it was the opposite? 90% of the world's population, if they were wheelchair users, and if we were building the world, the ceiling would not be higher than this. For all of you, it's going to be a crawling experience. Unfortunately, it's the reverse, and therefore we are at the receiving end. So this is what we try to create from an awareness standpoint. And is it going to happen anytime soon? Probably not. But I think, we are all headed in the right direction. The fact that there are a group of people, this is a packed house, all the chairs are taken. The fact, and this is the first time I'm seeing across India. First time entrepreneurs from the business or people from the business side showing interest in assistive technologies. This is the first time. So I think a round of applause for all of you. UN and WHO are constantly at it, and therefore ICMR is now the torchbearer for assistive technology in India, and I see changes happening. NIST Trivandrum now has a National Center for Assistive Health Technologies. So changes are happening. Is it at a pace that we desire it? No. But is it happening compared to what it was last decade? Absolutely yes. A lot of changes happening. Second question, how can R2D2 help you? We chose one thing and we're doing it, we believe we're doing it really well, which is mobility impairment space. We don't have expertise in other areas, primarily because our center is out of the mechanical engineering lab. We understand human body mechanism, biomechanics, biokinetics very well, and therefore we focus on mobility related stuff. If you're talking about vision impairment, we onboard partners from IIT Delhi. They have a lab and they're working on that space, and we're happy to connect you. Similarly, for speech and hearing, we reach out to NIST Trivandrum. For multiple disabilities or intellectual disabilities, we reach out to NIPMED, PMR, NIPMR. Dr. Sindhu is here. She's a partner for us, conquer all territories. So that's how we do. If it's anything to do with mobility impairment, we are happy to help in terms of all the resources, engineering students, engineering staff, researchers, clinicians. If it's display of any other technologies, our experience center is wide open. Please come walk in and display your technology so that people get awareness about it. Thank you.
2 billion to see. And also said this includes the elderly also.
Yes.
Is it right to bracket both these groups together, because the needs of elderly is, I would say, is drastically different from what a person physical disability.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you cater for the elderly also when you're talking about assisted technology actually?
Yeah. So you were spot on when you said the needs are very different, right? I'll also go one step further. Within the disabled population itself, it's a wide spectrum. You have about 28 disabilities, or there are so many other disabilities. Forget about that, and the PMR doctor will validate when the statement, because this is a statement they make, no two spinal cord injuries are same. Do you say that? So even within our population, it's not same and the needs are very different. What I'm saying is that technology that you develop should be versatile so that it encompasses others as well. If you don't do it, you will be at the risk of being a one product company, one application company, and soon in 3 to 5 years, you will shut shop. So when you are developing a mobility related device, you might as well take on board the geriatric population, talk to them, understand their need, and if you can slightly change your design to embrace that, or create a module for the geriatric population, then you have a winning product. That's all. Yes.
I'm just, you're right, absolutely. Like, I need this to climb over there.
Yes.
You all like what you need, Because I have balance problems, It's not a disability, because age related.
Yes, yes.
But the social aspects, like exclusion, you're not being included in the mainstream. then your mental problems, when you get old. All these aspects, do you have any, like, for example, you have the other day, I think in one of our TiEcons, I think it was Google which brought out, is there somebody we have this seniors when you
Parkinson's
contraption which resonates at the same frequency as that of this thing.
Yeah.
So that you can use it for.
Correct.
So elderly people would need such things. It's not a disability out of anything.
Absolutely. So for specifically.
What sort of aspects are you including?
Yes. So specifically for elderly population, there's one technology that we are working on is sit to stand. Right? For a person with paralysis, I don't need it at all because I'm not going to stand. But for a person, aging population, you need that, right? That slight push to stand. But I can't make this as a bulky device. Otherwise, you'll be carrying it everywhere. So there's a team of engineers who are working on that particular problem statement. For pediatric population, we're working on certain devices, a walk chair. We're also for children with cerebral palsy. We are working with something called body movement wheelchair, because they don't have hand coordination. So different disabilities are there, different impairments are there. So we try to understand, we try to scope. If there is a possibility to combine it, we combine it. Otherwise, there are separate solutions that are developed for separate populations.
Hearing impairment is, and they have now created a solution which is software based using their AirPods that can actually compensate for a great degree of hearing loss. So whether you're a elderly, whether you're person who's deteriorating in your hearing loss, you can use that, and the system will in a versatile manner change settings and help you use it the way that you need it the best.
Yeah.
So that's what the versatile technology that you were talking about.
Absolutely, and I only wish either Apple or maybe at R2D2 we should develop an adapter to easily hold the AirPod and put it in my ear. Because without finger disability, I can't do it. That's how you create modularity. Absolutely, yes. Thank you.
And the second thing is also, another aspect that we don't probably think about too much is the stigma. See, wearing an AirPod is considered cool. Whereas when you see someone wearing a hearing aid, probably it triggers a different kind of feeling in you. So this would also go a long way in normalizing hearing loss and people using assistive devices to compensate for this hearing disability.
Very true. And some of the devices that we are right now developing for the future, we want them to be aesthetically pleasing as well, because the population is becoming more and more demanding as the purchase power increases.
Thank you very much for the brilliant session. And I request Rajesh Nair to present a memento as a token of gratitude.
I can ask the panel to be on stage. Robin, Tommy, Sindhu, and Mr. Chandrababu C. So as I briefly mentioned, the reason why we chose this sector was we had, when we looked at a lot of data on the state, the first data which sort of hit us is the senior living population which is there in Kerala. So while we have around 2.5% of the country's population, we have around 16% senior citizens in that population. So it's a fairly large senior citizen population. So when we began with senior citizens, then the next step when we started looking at data was disabilities, and it was an ocean of data. The reason why we have experts out here is also for us to understand this area better in terms of how can TiE participate, how can the investor ecosystem, so you see Kerala Angel Network as a partner, how can the investors come in and help in with this sector? Are there startups who are doing interesting work whom we can fund? Or are there companies in this sector whom we can mentor? So that was the objective when we picked up more focused action in this area. So we have three eminent panelists here. I'll start with Robin. Robin is the co-founder and chief digital advisor of Inclusis. He's a trailblazer in the realm of technology innovation and social empowerment, recognized amongst the top 100 global thought leaders and influencers. He spearheads transformative projects at TCS and serves as the chief digital advisor at Inclusis Foundation. He has over 95 patents and leading edge developments in AI, robotics, and emerging technologies. He is the author of the book, Building Smart Robots, a very comprehensive guide on creating intelligent robotic solutions. He's dedicated himself to enhancing life through technology and innovation. He's the recipient of the prestigious Distinguished Engineer Award of the Tata Innovation Award and other accolades for his contributions to technology. Welcome, Robin. Yeah. We have Dr. Sindhu Vijaykumar. She is the founder and executive director of the Foundation for International Rehabilitation Research and Empowerment, which is, the acronym is FIRE, FIRRE. Dr. Sindhu has 23 years of postgraduate experience in the field of physical medicine and rehabilitation. She has worked with some of the best institutes of medicine in India and several years at the University of Toronto in Canada. She brings to the table a wide array of training, clinical experience, maturity of thought, proven leadership, and excellent communication skills, which are vital in this sector and to communicate the needs of the sector. She's also the Associate Professor of Physical Medicine and Rehabilitation at the Amala Institute of Medical Sciences. Welcome, Dr. Sindhu. Yeah. We have Mr. Chandrababu C., who's an Executive Director of the National Institute of Physical Medicine and Rehabilitation. I heard of the, I was sheepish when I told him that I just heard about the institute when I spoke to him. But it's a fabulous, body of work he has and what they do. Mr. Chandrababu is a postgraduate in rural development, having more than 41 years of service in the government sector in various capacities as in the district panchayat, chief executive officer, MKSP, principal extension training center at Manuti in Thrissur. Under his leadership, NIPMR became the first institution in Kerala to start a bachelor's program in occupational therapy and bachelor's in prosthetics and orthotics. NIPR, in collaboration with WHO, implements training in assistive products, TAP for short, and translated the TAP module in Malayalam. NIPMR has been awarded the UN Task Force Award in 2024 this year for outstanding performance in the field of non-communicable diseases, mental health, and assistive technology. And the institute is in Irinjalakuda here. Welcome, sir. So it's a short panel. What we will do is we'll have the panelists speak for around 10-11 minutes in their openings and giving us a broad perspective on the sectors that they work in and their work in the sector. And then we will do another round of questions and then open it up for questions. Our objective is to get pointers in terms of what can we do. We also want to be educated about the sector. As I said, a lot of us are still grappling with lack of information in terms of, what is the size of the sector, what opportunities, how many, what is in it for startups, what is the access to finance here, what is the access to markets here. Those are things that we want to grapple. So post this, we want to sort of sum it up into maybe a report or some literature that we can use for the future, especially when the next round we want to get all the investors in and have some sort of an idea exchange between the companies and the investors. So I'll start with Dr. Sindhu. Ma'am, so if you can give us a broad area of work that you do and your contribution and your perspective on the sector in general.
So the type of patients is where the difference is. So we see people of all ages, both sexes. Okay, that's a rarity these days, right? Most specialties, you have either a restriction of age or a restriction of sex. So we don't have that. So basically physical medicine and rehabilitation is a whole array of conditions that we see, starting from babies, starting from newborns, where there are children, high-risk babies, they have issues, they have some impairments, to the geriatric population, where again, due to the functional decline in old age, they may be facing disabilities, and in between, all the diseases, say strokes, brain injuries, spinal cord injuries, a whole spectrum of disorders, neurological disorders. Traditionally, most of us were doing mostly physical disabilities. We are more confident of managing physical disabilities. However, we cannot really differentiate whether there is a vision impairment, hearing impairment. Very happy, and it is during my tenure at NIPMR that we came across the course on assistive technology, which really changed the way
I look at things. And I've always been prescribing wheelchairs right from the start of my career. As a postgraduate in physical medicine, we are very well aware of assistive technologies. We've been prescribing them, giving to patients, training patients in their use. However, the newer knowledge about other assistive devices have changed a lot. So my practice prior to NIPMR, purely clinical and kind of a medical model, was not really anything, was not really doing much other than just sitting in OPs and seeing patients, treating patients. Post NIPMR or post assistive technology course, they took a different turn. I started talking to engineers, which was not possible really before, really didn't know how to interact. But then now kind of bullying them, and telling them what to do, what not to do. And I want this and I want that and I want this modification and that modification. So life is now much more fun. And we have the opportunity of having the assistive technology clinics. So as part of our routine work, we do prescribe all these devices, but then we face problems. Either they cannot afford, cannot get, or even if they get, it doesn't fit. So the clinics actually help to modify. So I call engineers, call technicians, prosthetist, orthotists, manufacturers, and make them interact. So a whole lot of ideas, whatever can be done, can be modified, cannot be modified. And these are, the way we are doing things now. So drastically different from how I used to practice before. Another change, I must say, especially in pediatric population, that we see, earlier a child would come with a disability, I would prescribe a device. Now I will not prescribe a device. I'll tell them to come back. I'll tell them, give the right kind of advices, bring them back, again, have this discussion, and then give the device. The acceptance is much more when they understand what we are trying to establish. So a lot of change in the way people are looking at things, including myself. PMR doctors, we are all now practicing differently. We are more into looking at ways how we can get help locally. And including the local community is one where we do. So while working in this particular medical model is where we found that just one sector alone, be it the government sector, be in the private sector, alone we are quite restricted in terms of the stakeholders or getting things. So that is when the idea of NGOs came into being. So I formed with a few of my friends, where it was much easier to tackle things, much easier to convince them. And a lot of things which we cannot get done in a government sector becomes much easier in a non-governmental sector. So collaborations have become, I should say, has transformed all these difficulties into possibilities. The difference now being, earlier, if one hospital associates with another hospital, that's like, oh, they are not capable of doing things. But now the era has changed. It is the era of accreditations, the NAC, the NERF, the NABH. So everywhere, if you associate with another institution or an NGO, it is actually to the credit of the hospital. So socially, in the medical system, in education, higher education, there is a huge change happening, which I think has happened for the best of assistive technologies. So this transformation is actually practically out there. So I'm very hopeful that there is this, the field of assistive technology getting so much of attention is at the right time, at the right place. The only problem, the real problem I feel, is the lack of awareness, or people do not reach me or reach us. So it's being sidetracked. The person has had a stroke. So many people have a stroke. We see at least 3 or 4 new strokes every day happening at Amala. The policy says they should come to rehab, so they do come to rehab. But in no other hospital in Thrissur, they might reach Amala. Maybe 10-20% might reach an IPMR. Then the rest of the population who has had stroke who might have recovered. So the stopping that disability or preventing that disability is being halted somewhere. And then if they go on to live with that disability at the right time, at the right place, they don't get to know where the facilities are. So that is the problem that I feel is existing. And such organizations, such meetings probably will change the way things might happen in future. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Chandrababu, if you can give us the same, your perspective on the sector and the kind of work which NIPMR does. I think probably a definite minute on what the institute does, because I'm sure a lot of them don't know.
It's a great opportunity to share the dais with my former colleague, Dr. Sindhu. We are working together, and now she's working with Amala Hospital. As you know, NIPMR is working in the government. So previously, it was a private organization called Thrasima Memorial Hospital, and under N.K. Matthew Charitable Trust. The trustees handed over the institution to Government of Kerala in 2013. At that time, they are functioning with the minimal facilities, like one physiotherapy unit, one small space unit, and a small school for this cerebral palsy. At present, NIPMR is one of the leading organizations in the disability sector. We have 3 special schools, one for cerebral palsy, other for autism, and other for IDD. And right from the special education, we have professional courses there. NIPMR is the first institution in Kerala, along with NIST, to start Bachelor in Occupational Therapy. 4th batch is an ongoing training. And current year, we are going to start a degree program in prosthetic and orthotic. First in Kerala, and the only institution have got affiliation to do the course from RC and as well as the Kerala University of Health Sciences. And we have another academic program for special education, D.Ed in special education. And we also have a 1-year certificate program in caregiving. 1-year certificate program in caregiving with RCA accreditation. We also have another program, job training, employment training for a person with disabilities from between the age of 18 to 30. We offer so many occasional training programs, including computer training, computer training, bakery, this housekeeping, etc. We offer such trainings to children. And we are also give some assistance for getting employment. Apart from that, we have almost all therapy facilities there. Physiotherapy, speech therapy, occupational therapy, behavioral therapy, and early intervention centers. Our early intervention centers also there. There are developmental pediatricians working. Of course, physiatrists are there. We have one of the best spinal injury and stroke rehabilitation unit we have. Long list of patients waiting for rehab after medical stabilization. That's what the challenge we are facing. In government sector, it seems there's no much emphasis in providing rehabilitation facilities for the stroke as well as accident or spinal injury rehabilitation patients. After this, after accident or stroke, or the patients are nowhere to go. They are lying in the house, and so many complications arises. So we need to give much emphasis in rehabilitation. Regarding assistive technology, we have a Center for Mobility and Assistive Technology. We have a processing production unit here. We have a mandate from the government to supply assistive products directly to the local bodies. The local bodies in Kerala can directly approach us without observing tender formalities. They can directly purchase us. We have a team. We will go conduct camps and prescribe whatever the requirement, and we can provide. Not only that, last year we got another government order to set up therapy centers in panchayat or local bodies. To therapy, we have the mandate to set up therapy centers in panchayat. So we are also working in that field. Not only that, we have a program jointly with the World Health Organization in training in assistive products. And as a pilot project in this Alur Panchayat, we are now on the way covering the Panchayat local body is going to become 100% coverage in assistive products. And if that effort is we are succeeding, we can emulate it elsewhere also. Thank you.
Robin, your perspective on the sector and what you have done.
I think these are the right experts to speak about assistive technology and that particular field, because I started my journey, if I look back, is mostly 11, 12 years back. And the reason is Dinesh Thampi, who is actually the head of TCS Kerala division. Now, one day, because mostly our team in TCS, look, I was working out of Trivandrum. I had a beautiful lab, which is called the Rapid Lab. And we do a lot of prototyping for customers across the globe. Now, we are situated in almost every, I would say, except Antarctica and Arctic, we are everywhere in the globe. But we were not concerned about assistive or anything. So that was the time Dinesh came to the lab and said, okay guys, why don't you, because that was the time he was also part of Adarsh Charitable Trust. How many of you know Adarsh School? It's a beautiful school, I would say. If you have not known it, okay, just go there. It's like any other special school, but it's a bit different, I would say, why. Now, he asked us to visit the school, okay. So one fine morning, myself with my colleagues, we thought we'll have an excursion kind of a thing. So we traveled to the school to see how this. Before this, I had been to one of the schools very near to Techno Park. Most of you know the CH Muhammad Koya school, which is the first government school for mentally retarded children. But that was like, we just went there, we did some CSR activity. But the visit to Adarsh actually changed our thought process, I would say. Specifically, when we went there, we met children. Now, what is the thought process that changed? It's not the children actually changed our, I would say, thought process. It's the parents who were coming there. Actually, I could see almost many of the parents, almost 90% of the mothers accompanying their children to the school. And they were waiting outside, seeing how their child is there in the school. Because most of the times because it was an observation, because Dinesh just wanted us to visit the school. So we were just staying there for a day. So what we found is almost all the mothers were waiting outside to see if any problem is going to happen with their child inside the school. Now this was interesting because at almost like 10:30, 11, what we found is that we could hear a lot of noise not of noise when I say it is in the physical therapy room. All these schools have a physical therapy room. So I just went there, what I was saying is like a 3-year-old child going through a physiotherapy process. And most of us know how painful a physiotherapy process is. That is when I started understanding what is the actual problem. So I believe you might have heard Joel saying about cerebral palsy. How many of you know about cerebral palsy? Very few. Those days, I never knew what is cerebral palsy. But that was one condition that made that child to be in that room and go through that extreme pain. 3-year-old child who should be enjoying at his home or doing something else, like any of our children at home. He is there, he is going through the pain, he is crying. You know what happened after that? He jumped to the floor from a chair and he started crawling because he's in so pain that he started crying for his mother. The mother is coming inside, she is taking him and she started soothing him down. All of a sudden, he doesn't want to be at that school. He wants to just get rid of the word school from his life. And the mother was going out. And this has been the life of most of the cerebral palsy children when they come to school, is what I heard from Adarsh. it's painful. It's not like our children going first few days they might cry because they miss you. But here it is, the missing was the pain, actually speaking. Okay, and that pain is so enormous that you will see in them, they don't want to come to school. So that is when we thought, okay, we talk about business, we talk about all profits, TCS is talking about all those stuff, Tata Group. We started discussing this internally. Dinesh said, you do whatever you want, we will try whatever we could do to do things for them. So that was the time we thought, okay, then let's take this more seriously, and we visited multiple times. We did all kinds of the basics of design thinking, and that is when we found that all those children there were interested in playing games, because it was they were all like 5-year-old, 10-year-old, 15-year-old. We could see people with even 18-year-old in that school. More than 150 children were coming to that school. So we thought, why don't we then introduce games? So that was the first application we introduced from Tata, specifically for children who are having cerebral palsy, autism, and ADHD, especially hyperactive ADHD, I would call, to improve their cognitive, physical, and occupational skills. Okay, so these were the 3 things that we were trying. And this game is called, this gamified intervention is called VHAB, Virtual Habilitation. So it's available in Google. You can search for it. It's supported by Barclays Bank as their CSR initiative for TCS. It's not directly TCS. TCS just contributed some brains like ours to develop this application. This happened 7 years back. Today it has reached more than, I would say, 10,000 children across India. We are trying to put this up in UK now, across UK, to see how this would be effective for them, making some changes. Basically, I should say something more. Look, even we talk about therapy and all, I believe that fantastic words were coming out here. But actually, I don't know whether you guys actually know what is actually happening in a special school. Look, special schools, if you go there, you will see it's not like the neurotypical schools, the choice or the other schools that you see. Okay. Their curriculum is like milestones and goals. So their milestones are very simple things in life. To eat by themselves. Okay. Their goals are to be independent. So that, look, we are here, I can take this and have some water from this bottle. For a child with cerebral palsy, that's not at all possible for him at that age. So there, what you see in these schools is training that. So when I went there, second day, what I was seeing is, I was seeing this child, one of the child is being asked to get the stairs or climb the stairs up and down. So he's being supported by one of the teachers there to do that. So when I asked a question, then she told us his mother wants him to study how to climb stairs. So these are the kind of goals that they put. So what we did is we started understanding what is the actual curriculum in the school. So we took that curriculum, we entirely put that curriculum into a gamified system, and then take that back to those schools and make them learn it. Can you say why did we do that? They could have done this otherwise too. What is that? It's interesting. Anything else? There is a socio-economic problem before I told. They can fail. Look, what we are trying to do, we talk about physical therapy. What we are trying to tell them is, or we are trying to make them do is, they are doing therapy without them knowing that they are doing that therapy. So it's a different methodology, first of all. Second, we want them to come to school. The problem is that they are afraid to come to school. Because of that physical therapy room, if you see that room, it was like, in olden days, we will call in Malayalam idimuri. Same thing. It's the same thing. I'm not joking, guys. It's same. If you go there, you will understand this. And I thought this is only in Adarsh. I have visited more than 150 schools in India. Everywhere, this is it. It is like an idimuri. So they are afraid. Now, how can that be changed? And that's what VHAB has been doing. So we just make it's not the peripheral change, it's a virtual, phygital change, whatever you call from a digital language. So that's what we did. So that was one of the interventions we did, and as I told you, it's a huge thing we could see. We have seen people now started walking with the crutches. People, there is a person called Sharan who just completed his graduation. Now he can walk in this room by just through the sides, just touching the walls and go. He was completely on a wheelchair. So what we try to impart to them is confidence. Okay, it's not that they walk because of our application, nothing. I won't say that's all stupid. It's just the confidence and the motivation we were able to give them because of that gamified environment and things that they learned through that. And it's a highly AI-based environment because today you might hear about the algorithms by Google called Gentusys, which is generating games simulations, which we did almost like 6 years back. That's one of our papers, and you can search. There's one patent for Tata in this. So then after that, what we started is, in the same school, we have seen multiple children with cerebral palsy who cannot go into that particular field of physical changes. They cannot walk. They are always on a wheelchair. But the biggest issue they were facing is they cannot talk properly, or it's atypical speech, or it's not a normal speech. So he speaks well, he's intellectually well, he feels like he's speaking well, but we don't understand. Like you might have seen what is the example I can say? People with multiple neuron disorders or motor neuron disorders, when they are trying to speak, they'll speak it, but you cannot make it out. Okay. So in this kind of a scenario, that was actually inhibiting the child's growth because he was completely demotivated. He always needed a scribe for his exams. Not because he's not intellectually having a problem. It's just because whatever he speaks is not being understood by the teachers there. So always a scribe is there, and most of the times the scribe also will not understand what he says. And overall what happens? Multiple times he will just pass, like 30 marks or 40 marks. Now this was a huge question mark. And that is where we thought, why don't we have an intervention in this space? And when we started discussing, we came out with an application. Today, you see this application everywhere. It's called Deepfake. Okay. That time it was the first paper by Google on deepfake. So we took that, we converted that for deep audio. So we just took the people's audio, whoever having problems with their atypical or the speech pattern, we just converted that to something that people understand. And the worst thing that happened, why we wanted to do this is, there was a child called Anugrah. Okay, whatever names I'm sharing is, we already have permissions to share. So this child, he was asking for a glass of water. He was so desperate. After half a day, because he was just sitting near, because we were doing this VHAB implementation, he was going on asking, "Enikku oru glass of vellam tharuvo?" We never understood that. We thought he was just asking some questions on this thing and stuff. At the end, he went so, I would say, kind of violent. And he was going to fall down from his wheelchair. Then we called his mother came in, he was standing outside. She told us that he was asking for a glass of water. Just think of our situation that moment. So that was what made us think communication is very important. And why don't we come up with devices that would actually make sense? So all these are type of devices that I would call it as invented at that point of time when our engineers sat together. Because we cannot come look, you might have heard from Joel. We couldn't bring a device and just plant it to them because they will not use those devices. And what happened is we had to do a lot of design thinking around. We had a design lab, Lijo, he was heading the design, now he's with Air India Design. So he came, he was helping us out in finding out, okay, what are the possibilities of doing a design. That was the time Wonder Woman was there in the cinemas. So we started showing them Wonder Woman. So showed that kind of a gadget that was there on the head. So we designed it almost similar to that gadget on the head. And we gave it to them. And it was a huge success, I would say. Now Anugrah has almost completed his BCom from Sacred Heart College. So then we started seeing some success. It took, I would say, like 5 to 6 years, but success was there. And we never did something on a very huge scale. But we found that, okay, things are working, and then slowly we attracted CSR, and TCS CSR also came in, and things started moving. But one thing we found is, all this is great. People started confidence, motivation. But after 18 years, what is going to happen to them? Now in this room, I know many of you are entrepreneurs, many of you are business people. How many of you employ people with intellectual disability in your company? How many of you? Almost zero. TCS, I'll say TCS, never employed a person with intellectual disability. We had to fight in Tata Group, which even went to Ratan Tata, for a year to get the first few intellectually disabled people in our team in Trivandrum. We were there were a lot of people with intellectual disability as interns, but we never hired. Because we never had a policy properly for it. Now, many companies in Kerala are not hiring because they don't know what is the policy. Now, ENY has started, Quest has started, all this journey has started because of a lot of push people like us has started doing. They started coining the process and policies. Now, that is where we understood whatever they do, whatever change that happens to the society, they are kept apart from all this called neurotypicals. That is how our community works. You will not see them. You will not see any of them in our companies. There is a classic example in government that has happened, because I am a advocate. I would call it as I go to everywhere and ask people, hey, can you employ them or can you give something for them? I'm not saying that you should employ. You just see their skill and do it. Here I can see Rohit and everyone sitting from KMTC. So they know me. I go to them. I say them, hey, why don't you employ them? Give us some work for them. First of all, what happens is that they'll say, okay, we will do something. And some of them will even hire, okay, 1 or 2 people. What happens is after 3 to 4 months, because of so less accommodations in the system itself, they will have to leave the job. And that's what is happening. I'm not blaming any system, but that's how the system is. Every system has been built by the neurotypicals for the neurotypicals. I'm sorry to say that. And this is what is how. So none of them will get employed. They are not able to withstand that employment for a long period of time. The pressure that is there. Even a proper toilet is not there for them. Even you won't see this kind of a ramp for them. There was a time when people on wheelchair were just lifted and kept on the kind of places I've seen. So where I'm coming from is, that's where I started this foundation called Inclusus, along with TCS, EY and everyone, so that we found, okay, we all have to come together and see because IT was booming, the great resignation that was happening during the COVID time. So what we were advising people is that you just give them work because they are not going to resign as fast as the other people. Let us try. Today we have 150 people employed, almost 70% with intellectual disability, and they're doing a great work. And what we have done is also we have started a startup exclusively for them. My wife, who was in Infosys, is now taking care of that startup. And there are a lot of people from multiple companies who resigned and is being a part of the startup, which is called Inclusus Neuro.org. Even KMTC has given a small work for us. Government is giving a humongous amount of work, I would say, for them. And the quality is on par with any neurotypical company that we have worked with. And now we have started taking international projects too. So the lesson here is that we should employ them, okay? Because it's not that we know about the gap, we know about all this kind of things that we can talk about, but they are on par as any neurotypical individual when it comes to work, especially when the autistic people, because their concentration, their attention to detail is fantastic, I would say. I have so many ADHD people in my team. Okay, so they work so deep because most of my research associates, research analysts are ADHD people. There is a reason behind I keep them, because their attention to detail is something I can never do. Any neurotypical can do, I would say. So these are some of the lessons we learned in TCS, and we started changing, I would say. Specifically now we are working in these domains. Now we have also started, because since Kerala is moving into almost a senior citizens state, now some of our research we have started specifically for cognitive. You know that there is a huge dementia cases being reported now it comes in the Alzheimer's space. So how cognitive, especially the executive functions and prefrontal functions, can be improved. So from our part, we are doing a huge research and finding out what are the possibilities in that. And that's what overall, I think TCS, our foundations, and we people together, most of us work together also in this particular space.
Thanks, Raman. Truly, I felt like, we were all having disabilities and they just helped us move into another level in terms of our cognition about, such difficulties. I'm also conscious of time. Just a quick question for each of you. So, just a repetition what Jacob and Vivek said in the beginning. So, there are a lot of entrepreneurs out here. There are a lot of professionals out here. And primarily, there are a lot of people who are keen to help out the ecosystem in general. What could TiE do? So, if if you can take 2 minutes each and tell us, how can we help? So is it awareness? Is it access to finance? Is it, so I think we have heard enough about, right from Justin to, to Chandrababu sir, Justin and Sindhu ma'am and Robin. See, charity, it's all fine at one level, but then what is it that we can actually contribute in this sector? So if you can give us in 2 minutes each, what we can do, and then we'll open it up for questions. So we'll start with you, Robin.
Okay, if you look at it, one area, one research, except for IIT and few of the other premium institutes, you see the research is very less in this space. So there is something that we have to encourage research. It's not the big technology and the profits that you should go for. One thing which I feel is the social enterprises has to come in this particular field. A lot of social enterprises where inclusion is focused. Second, look, we have, what I have seen when I visit some of the schools, some of the devices, ceremonies that goes on where devices are given away, the same person gets multiple wheelchairs. Same brand wheelchair I have seen 3 or 4 times being given to the same person by the government. I don't know how this is happening. Okay. Now let's see that it is given. But what is actually lacking is basic needs of assistive devices. Now, when this is something which we have been facing multiple times, especially for elderly citizens and people with disability. People with intellectual disability, cerebral palsy and all, you will see, for them writing something is difficult. So because this is all fine motor actions. Even for me now it is difficult because of this braces. So there are small things that can be taken from the market. Okay, it can be, for example, cutting nails. So taking a nail cutter and cutting a nail is the most difficult process for a cerebral palsy or even an ADHD child. I don't know how many of you face it. For us it's easy. But there is a nail cutting assistive device that's actually available with which you can cut it. But how many of us are aware of it? We are not aware of it. But even though if you are aware of it, you cannot buy this in India. It is available with the US or the UK or the Europe giants. And one such device would cost you more than 2,500 to 3,000 rupees. So we will never buy it. It's a simple device, but it helps you a lot, but you will not buy it. Now, why don't we manufacture it here? It's a simple thing. You just use a 3D printer and do it. Now, why are we not doing it? We don't have a design environment or a culture. We are not encouraging people to think. Even our students, if you ask them about this device, they are not aware. They don't want to do it. Because, why? Because they have been taught about the bigger technology to be used for bigger business models rather than solving the local problem which is around them. This is the biggest issue which we are facing now. So now, from an awareness perspective, I think government Kudumbashree is specifically trying to penetrate and ask people to join hands together, especially locally, to do these kind of activities. So I'd say is low-tech assistive device is a need of the hour for everyone. It's not even for the disabled people, but for everyone it is. One or the other point of time I'm saying. Especially today I was trying to have some lunch and I had to remove this and have it. Even I'm having a huge pain at this point, this ligament. Then suddenly someone brought me because in our lab we have a spoon feeder which can be attached. It's a bigger spoon feeder. So I can just take it and have it. It was much more easier for me to have the lunch. But how much of access is there for such kind of things, which is actually needed for the disabled people? So that is a huge market. If you guys are interested in investing in that market, it's a very, very huge market. It's $1 million market. And government should take necessary policy regulations to make sure that these kind of devices are reaching to the end users, especially to the disabled and elderly society and the vulnerable society, we call it. And finally, I would add is awareness. Because most of the children today, if you ask me, in schools, colleges, they are not aware of these kind of problems. Even though it's much more higher than in our era, the Gen X era. Gen Z is much more, because they are seeing autistic children and all, but they are not aware of what is the needs and how that needs can be catered, and how that the barriers can be actually changed or been, I would say, as a bridge, how they can act towards it. So there is a huge gap even today. So even if that gap is not addressed as of now, we have seen the bigger numbers earlier in the screen, it is going to be much more bigger. So when the numbers are going to be bigger, you are asking a huge society to just go about and sit somewhere else, and we will take care of things. That's going to be the situation if we are not doing it at the right time. I think this is the right time. We have crossed the time is what I feel. We have to work together, bring this and act upon at this time, at least at this time.
Sindhu ma'am, same question. So what could we do, and how could we help out?
Yeah. From a very, very practical point of view, so I see persons with disabilities, I see persons with multiple disabilities, I see elderly people just having pains and having difficulty walking or some bit of tremor. So on a down-to-earth, day-to-day practice, cost is definitely the issue. Many people cannot afford what we suggest. Apart from awareness, I feel because they don't reach the expertise is where I feel there is a lack. People who give these devices have absolutely no idea of what they are giving, whether it is useful, whether it is doing more harm than benefit. Robin talked about giving the devices, like one person having 4. I've actually seen, we go into people's homes as part of NGO, we go, we see, we assess their homes before we give the device, and I see 3 rusted wheelchairs, all just they're brand new but rusted. They've never used it, and if I ask, okay, do you want a wheelchair? They'll say yes. So why do you say yes? I said, couldn't you have refused? And his response is, if I refuse, if there is anything else that comes, because I've said no now, then you may not consider me for the next program. So they are hoping that at one point in time they'll get something, useful, but they will never say no. And we have had children, we did a project as part of our AT course on toilet seats and to make bathing independent, so the right kind of shower chair or the bath chair. So we were considering different designs. We're looking at low cost things. I'm looking at the internet. I'm doing this. Oh, we have like this one. It's there in the attic. I'll bring it. I said, okay, you bring it. And we modified that thing. I just had to give a strap. No other modification. I just had to give one strap to that particular chair she already had in the home for say 3 or 4 years. And I'm thinking 4 years back that chair would have been so big for that child. Now when I'm seeing the child, it is right size. But they never knew that they could use it. And then all my designs were total waste. They never needed any of those. Much more acceptable because it was there in their house. Her father tried and do all those modifications. So expertise is one. Is there a need in the first place to do this? Many people may not really need. So as I said before, we may not have to give anything. We may just have to assist the process. So it's not the product, it's the person, it's the function that he or she wants to do that needs help. So that expertise is really lacking. And who will prescribe? So the government gives away a lot of devices. When there is a camp from NIPMR, we are sure people who have expertise in this are prescribing. But otherwise, in a government camp, what happens is all these ortho doctors are going, they don't know what they are doing. So they have been given, including me, I have been given a list many a times, you see, okay, from these, whatever you need, you do, you give. And many people who come to the camp, they'll have, I need a tablet. I need a computer. I say, what is the child having? Can the child use a computer? No. The child cannot use the computer. Do you know how to use the computer, the mother or the parent? No. Then why do you need a computer? Panchayat, they said you will get one in this camp. So you know immediately that this is not going to go to the right person, it's not going to the right use. You almost know that they're going to sell it and get that whatever money for that device. And this is what is happening in the real world. So whenever we are giving, like giving is fine, finances is fine, but making sure the right kind of expertise is there. People who prescribe are trained in how to prescribe. So we have been given suggestions. The Samagra Shiksha Kerala, SSK, had asked for a list of all the newer assistive devices. What are all the options for children with disabilities? So when we give this list, nothing in that list, like when we say wheelchair, a wheelchair can be modified in so many different ways. You know, you can have an armrest, you may remove an armrest, you may have a long armrest, a short armrest. So each part of the wheelchair can be customized or modified, and that will make it independent. So the person who's prescribing, and to allow for these modifications in this and to have a choice. So how can we do that in a system? So I was suggesting to ICMR, they are making this national list of essential assistive products, which now, like vaccinations, might in the future come through the health system. Because right now everything is going through the social justice ministry. So it's not, everybody does not have access to all this, but vaccines and all through the National Health Mission or so, probably they are working on ways and how it can actually get to people. So the suggestion was to have more people trained, whether from the public or the private sector. You know, they can have a panel of experts, different rehabilitation experts. So I may be really good in physical disabilities, but I'm not the expert in hearing disabilities or visual disabilities. So to have experts from each field and train them in assistive devices and assistive living and assistive technologies. Like even me, I say that if there is a new technology coming somewhere, he is developing something in AI, how do I know? I may never know unless and until I'm told that such and such a technology exists. So this close collaboration, so having more such meetings, probably in TiEcon and or your other forums. So now there is that bridging the gap. So that is what we are aiming through FIRE and also through the clinics that we do. That we connect with engineers, we connect with NGOs, we connect with the government, and have a collaborative field. So offering that platform where we can all collaborate. There are common training platforms. If there are government projects that are available, so many times I do send my patients, whatever you can get through the BRCs. There are camps that being conducted by the BUDS rehabilitation centers, and all these children will get their device. So I don't duplicate that. So I make sure that they get it, whatever is available from the government, they get. So the high-end devices that maybe I can make for them, we have other programs. So we'll say, maybe we have now developed an assistive devices support program. I don't give free of cost. We have made that as a policy at FIRE. We don't offer anything free. You have to pay something for it. Maybe very less, but then the rest we can give. So finances, common forums, more of engaging platforms, learning, certifications in the field. These are the things probably we can look at.
Thank you. Chandrababu sir, your points.
I agree with all the other panelists. The low tech devices also help much. In our occupational therapy department, we make and supply splints, hand splints there. It's very also there's adaptive tools like spoons, cups, etc. The adaptive tools are very much useful for them. Hand splints are very much useful for them. So both combination of high as well as low technology can work wonders. That's the other thing. Then now we have attempting to have adaptive clothes for the person with the disabilities. This is an area unexplored. This market can take up, the industry can take up the idea for designing and producing and marketing adaptive cloth, customized clothes. That's the area we can intervene. Then another area, in social justice department, there's another organization. There's a handicap development corporation. The corporation is also providing so many wheelchairs. There's three-wheel scooters, etc. There are more than 400 applications pending for the scooters, but it is not available or nobody is willing to manufacture and supply. It's an area where our industry can very well intervene in that field. Regarding this prescription modification of wheelchairs, etc., the fire is doing, we are doing something, but there's a much needed for local servicing and repair centers for these assistive products. Throughout Kerala, it is a need. Some startups can take up this, my suggestions in this field. Another area needs attention in the disability sector is the dental hygiene, where people are not getting the service. In NIPMA, we have started a dental clinic with this objective. We tried dental service for our children, but most of the dental clinics refused or give timely support. So also some assistive devices are also in the dental area also. That can also be explored for a comprehensive rehabilitation strategy.
You should practice your elevator pitches out here. So thanks a lot. If you can give them a round of applause, we'll ask them the questions subsequently during the tea set. Thanks a lot.
We have two startups with us. First up, Oculix Private Limited. I request Anjana to come forward to brief about your startup.
I am Anjana. I am the co-founder of Oculix Private Limited. Simply, we are a startup and we are doing a virtual reality platform for ortho-neuro rehabilitation. Have you heard about virtual reality technology? Yes. We are creating an interactive platform for rehabilitation patient, and it is an assistive tool for physiotherapists. Simply, we are providing a platform to customize all the activities which they want to do in a patient. That's the basic structure of our product, very simple as that. And also, we are providing it as an B2B manner, and we are providing it is for rehabilitation centers. Currently, we have 4 customers in Kerala, which is in Malappuram district. They are concentrated in mainly for rehabilitation and Ayurvedic therapy. And we are getting a wonderful feedback from them. So this is a wonderful opportunity to meet you all, and I got this opportunity very randomly. I don't have any pre-preparation for this presentation. And എനിക്കൊരു ചോദ്യമുണ്ട്. നേരത്തെ ചന്ദ്രബാബു സാർ പറഞ്ഞു നിപ്മറിൽ ഗ്രാമപഞ്ചായത്തുകൾ കേന്ദ്രീകരിച്ച് അസിസ്റ്റീവ് ടെക്നോളജീസിന് വേണ്ടിയിട്ട് കുറേ പ്രോഗ്രാംസ് നടത്തുന്നുണ്ട്. അപ്പം എന്തൊക്കെയാണ് ഞങ്ങളെപ്പോലെയുള്ള സ്റ്റാർട്ടപ്സിന് അതിലേക്ക് പെനിട്രേറ്റ് ചെയ്യാനുള്ള ഓപ്പർച്യൂണിറ്റി എന്ന് ഞങ്ങൾക്ക് അറിഞ്ഞാൽ കൊള്ളാമെന്നുണ്ട്. ആൻഡ് ഓൾസോ നമുക്കറിയാലോ, ഇന്നോവേഷൻ എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് എപ്പോഴും നമുക്ക് റൂട്ടിൽ നിന്ന് തുടങ്ങാനായിരിക്കും എല്ലാവർക്കും ഇഷ്ടം. ഡെവലപ്മെൻറ്റ് ഏറ്റവും റൂട്ടിൽ തുടങ്ങാൻ, പക്ഷേ നമുക്ക് പറ്റാത്തത് ഫിനാൻഷ്യൽ കൺസ്ട്രെയിൻസ് കൊണ്ടായിരിക്കും. അപ്പോൾ ഇത്തരത്തിലുള്ള ഇന്നോവേഷൻസ് നമുക്ക് വളരെ ബേസിക് ആയിട്ടുള്ള ആൾക്കാരിൽ എത്തണമെന്നും കൂടുതൽ മാർക്കറ്റ് നമുക്ക് അങ്ങനെ കവർ ചെയ്യണം. അതായത് ഒരു ഗുഡ് പർപ്പസിന് വേണ്ടി എല്ലാവരിലും എത്തുന്ന രീതിയിൽ നമുക്ക് ഞങ്ങളുടെ പ്ലാറ്റ്ഫോം പ്രൊവൈഡ് ചെയ്യണമെന്നുണ്ട്. അതുപോലെയുള്ള അസിസ്റ്റീവ് ടെക്നോളജീസ് വലിയ റൂട്ടിൽ വരണമെന്നുണ്ട്. സോ അതിനുള്ള മാർഗം നേരത്തെ സ്കിപ്പ് ചെയ്ത പാർട്ടിൽ ചോദിക്കാൻ ഞാൻ നിന്നതായിരുന്നു. അപ്പം ഈ ഒരു വേദിയിൽ നിന്ന് എനിക്ക് അതിനുള്ള ഉത്തരം കിട്ടുമെന്ന് ഞാൻ വിചാരിക്കുന്നു. ആൻഡ് എൻ്റെ സ്റ്റാർട്ടപ്പ് ഇതാണ്. അപ്പം ഈ ഒരു ചെറിയൊരു ടെക്നോളജി നിങ്ങൾക്ക് ഞങ്ങൾ പ്രസൻറ്റ് ചെയ്യാൻ കൊണ്ടുവന്നിട്ടുണ്ട്. അപ്പോൾ നമുക്ക് നെറ്റ്വർക്കിംഗ് സെഷനിൽ എന്തൊക്കെയാണ് ഞങ്ങൾ പ്രൊവൈഡ് ചെയ്യുന്നത്, ഞങ്ങളുടെ പ്ലാറ്റ്ഫോം എന്താണെന്ന് കാണാനുള്ള ഓപ്പർച്യൂണിറ്റി നിങ്ങൾക്കുണ്ട്. സോ ആ ഒരു കോർണറിൽ ഞങ്ങൾ വെയിറ്റ് ചെയ്യുന്നുണ്ടാവും നിങ്ങളെ. യെസ്, ദാറ്റ്സ് ഓൾ അബൌട്ട് അവർ സ്റ്റാർട്ടപ്പ്.
Asian Talks Technologies, the co-founder, Don Paul.
We are a Thrissur-based startup. We manufacture electric wheelchairs and also patient transfer devices. Actually, Sindhu ma'am knows us very much, so we provide devices for her. Okay, so we started the company as a college startup back in 2017. We were visiting Alpha Palliative at Thrissur some years ago. So at that time, we saw his child suffering from cerebral palsy, and he could not move on his own. So his mother asked us whether we could do something for the child. So we designed a easy device that helps. It was a simple low-tech device that helps the cerebral palsy affected children to walk on their own. So we started with that project, and after that, after our college days, actually we went to different paths. Actually, during that time, one of our friend got into an accident, had a spine injury and was half paralyzed. So at that time, we again came into the sector. Back in 2017, we again came into this assistive tech sector. At that time, we could understand that the wheelchairs, especially, we are focusing on two problems. One is for the providing mobility to the patients, and another one is for providing easing the transfer of these patients. So while we took care of our friend, we could understand that mostly at homes, transferring is the most difficult thing. So we try to focus on that. We develop some patient transfer devices that helps to transfer these patients easily from beds, toilets, wheelchairs, and even vehicles with very easiness. And the other thing is the wheelchair. So at that time, either the electric wheelchairs were costing too much highly, or there were some cheap options available at that time, but there were cheap Chinese models. So there was a gap in between all these. So we developed all these things, and we made some wheelchairs at a lower cost than the market leaders, and we produced it to the market. And currently we have clients all over India, but 90% of our clients are in Kerala itself. Well, ma'am was there, we were supplying to NABMR also. And also we are vendors to Keltron. We are supplying to all the government panchayats and everything right now for the electric wheelchair right now. We are now trying to scale our operations. Also we are a bootstrap company. We haven't raised any funds, but we are looking for more options to reach the people. So എന്താണെന്ന് പറഞ്ഞു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ ഞങ്ങൾ ഈ പ്രൊഡക്റ്റ് ഡെവലപ്പ് ചെയ്ത് കഴിഞ്ഞപ്പോഴത്തേക്ക് ഞങ്ങൾ പ്രൊഡക്റ്റ് ഡെവലപ്പ് ചെയ്ത് കഴിഞ്ഞു, ഒരു ഫ്രണ്ടിന് വേണ്ടി ഡെവലപ്പ് ചെയ്തു, പ്രൊഡക്റ്റ് മാർക്കറ്റ് ഫിറ്റാക്കി. അത് കഴിഞ്ഞപ്പോഴത്തേക്ക് എന്താണെന്ന് വെച്ചാൽ പ്രൊഡക്റ്റ് നമ്മൾ ആദ്യം കുറേ ആളുകൾക്ക് നമുക്ക് സെല് ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റും. സോ ദേ ക്യാൻ അഫോർഡ് ദീസ് പ്രൊഡക്റ്റ്. ആൻഡ് ഫോർ ദ ലോവർ എൻഡ്, ഏറ്റവും അഫോർഡ് ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റാത്തവർക്ക്, ബിലോ പോവർട്ടി ലെവലിലുള്ള പലർക്കും വരുമ്പോഴത്തേക്ക് ഇങ്ങനത്തെ ഇലക്ട്രിക് വീൽ ചെയർസ് ആവട്ടെ, എന്ത് അസിസ്റ്റീവ് ഡിവൈസുകളാണെങ്കിലും, കുറച്ച് കോസ്റ്റ് ഹൈ ആവുന്ന എന്ത് അസിസ്റ്റീവ് ഡിവൈസുകളാണെങ്കിലും അവർക്ക് വേണ്ടി കൊടുക്കണമെങ്കിൽ ഗവൺമെൻറ് ബോഡിയുണ്ട്. ഇതിൻ്റെ ഇടയ്ക്ക് ഒരു കാറ്റഗറി ഉണ്ട്, വലിയൊരു കാറ്റഗറി. അതായത് ഒരു മിഡിൽ ക്ലാസ് കറക്റ്റ്ലി ഒരു മന്ത്ലി ഒരു 5,000 അല്ലെങ്കിൽ 10,000 വരെ സ്പെൻഡ് ചെയ്യാൻ വേണമെങ്കിൽ സേവ് ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റുമായിരിക്കാം. പക്ഷേ 5,000 ആണെങ്കിൽ സ്പെൻഡ് ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റും. അവർക്ക് വേണ്ടി ഈ അസിസ്റ്റീവ് ഡിവൈസ്, എസ്പെഷ്യലി ഒരു 50,000 മേലോട്ടുള്ള ഒരു അസിസ്റ്റീവ് ഡിവൈസ് അവർക്ക് അഫോർഡ് ചെയ്യാനും പറ്റില്ല, ഈ ഗവൺമെൻറ് ബോഡിയിൽ നിന്ന് കിട്ടുന്നും ഉണ്ടാവില്ല. So we are also looking for some opportunity to bridge that gap also from our end. So എന്തെങ്കിലും പോളിസി മേക്കേഴ്സ് ആരെങ്കിലും ഉണ്ടെങ്കിൽ അതിനുവേണ്ടി ഒരു ഗ്യാപ്പിനെ ഫില്ല് ചെയ്യാൻ വേണ്ടി, അതായത് സ്വന്തമായിട്ട് ബൈ ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റുന്നവർക്ക് ബൈ ചെയ്യാം, ഏറ്റവും ലോവർ എൻഡ് വരുന്നവർക്ക് ഗവൺമെൻറ് പ്രോജക്ട്സിൽ കയറും. ഇടയ്ക്കുള്ള ഒരു സെക്ടറിന് വേണ്ടി കേറ്റർ ചെയ്യാൻ വേണ്ടിയുള്ള ഒരു ഓപ്പർച്യൂണിറ്റിയാണ് ഞങ്ങളിപ്പോൾ നോക്കുന്നത്.
I request Mr. Tom George to conclude the session and deliver the vote of thanks.
Good evening. I will not attempt a big thank you because I think we are over time already. But nevertheless, it's important to talk about some of the things that were mentioned and acknowledge their contributions to you. So it's my honor to propose vote of thanks for this insightful discussion that we had today. It was definitely very informative, and I'm sure every one of us is taking back something home. Especially, I mean, Rajesh did mention about, our disabilities have actually, some of the disabilities that we had, probably Justin could clear that doubt from our side. What is disability itself? Justin did explain to us. Justin's here? He just went out. Yeah, it was very humbling, humbling experience to learn about Justin. I was going through his profile and, very humbling. Para-athlete, social innovator, and whatnot. I mean, he heads the R2D2 lab. All of that, I encourage everybody to go through his profile. I mean, so many medals. He's a swimmer and I don't know what not. And Justin, you're truly an inspiration, and it was a privilege hearing you. Thank you so much from our side. Mr. Robin Tommy, heard only today about you. Wonderful work that you're doing. So nice of you to have come here. I did listen to your, suggestions about low-tech assistive devices being the need of the hour, and people, entrepreneurs here could actually venture into that area. Thank you, sir, for coming down and sharing your views. Dr. Sindhu, I've actually met you briefly in NIPMER earlier, so I know the kind of work that you're doing in Amila as well as under the FIRE initiative of yours. Thank you so much for coming down and sharing your views. Mr. Chandrababu, sir, I've met you as well there. So your suggestions on dental clinics and even service stations for assistive devices, service centers for assistive devices, I'm sure some of the entrepreneurs definitely can pick it up. So, thank you, sir, for taking your time. I know all of you are professionals, busy. Thank you for taking your time to talk to us and share your ideas. Thank you so much. To the two entrepreneurs who came here to showcase your startups, Oculix and Desintox, thank you for sharing wonderful initiatives that you have had, you're coming up with. I've gone through your sites, so I understand a little bit about what you do. You're trying to solve a genuine problem. Thank you so much for coming down. Can we have a big round of applause for all these speakers here? Cut the long story short, to the organizers, well done. It ran very smooth. I think we are slightly over time, but it's wonderful that we had so much of inputs that we can take away, and we are going to continue these discussions beyond this. High tea is arranged. All the audience who have come here, your patient, thoughtful participation, questions were actually, you postponed it for a later point, and your time. Thank you so much for coming down and making this more meaningful. Thank you so much. Thank you all. High tea is being arranged. Please have a wonderful evening.